Bentley is one of the few technology providers being present in the industry for past 30 years, and their core is not just the product, how we integrate the products together so that you actually have a solution and not just a single silo product. So we saw some of the challenges that, one of the things which caught my eye was 2000 shop drawings, if I'm not wrong. Was it? So that's one of the challenges, and what I've done is I've tried listing some of the industry observations down which are influencing your business processes. One of them is the idea of virtualization. All the designers and all the engineers and execution people, they want their building to be first tested virtually before even trying it out in the construction field or the execution of the project. So that's one of the key challenges we think. Most of the people and most of the projects are now not just being engineered or worked upon by one team. They are multidisciplinary across different regions, across different timelines, and there are different stakeholders in one of the team as well. Amongst one team. So that's again having an integrated process towards execution of a project or designing a project. Of course, trying to simulate whatever situation that you have, or your structure or your piece of infrastructure might actually have to go through. Trying to simulate that in your virtual world so that you are better equipped to execute that or make some changes and have some better engineering judgment. This is the key. We all have heard so much about construction, steel construction. What are the different technologies that most of the companies are using? What kind of innovation we are looking at? Constructability of a design or constructability of a piece of infrastructure that we are trying to engineer. So I've already spoken about global teams. Now this is even on a wider scale. We're talking about different teams across different platforms and across different geographies working together on a single piece of project because everyone wants best of the talent to work on their project. And then knowledge management. Now this is something which we all hear a lot about. We all are creating a lot of data, whether it's a single piece of project, multiple projects, multiple disciplines, multiple teams. We create so much of data that one thing which is very essential now is to collate all that data and to be able to effectively use that. And that's something which we are certain as technology providers that that's something which is the way forward. With all this, we should not forget that a piece of infrastructure that we build has a life cycle. So we start from a 3D design environment. So when I talk about information management or life cycle or BIM, the buzzword, most of our industry, most of the interpretation goes only about the 3D model or a piece of model that we talk about. It's not just that. It's a process that we talk about. It's a process that we cater to at Bentley. And I'm sure most of the technology providers, they also understand, and most of the industry also understand that it's not about the product, it's a product and a process. So we talk about 3D design, we talk about analysis and simulation, we talk about disciplinary coordination, fabrication, construction, management, and just to summarize that. Now what we understand from BIM at Bentley is not just the model. It's about a process that allows you to create intelligent, data-rich models and to be able to use that information from your concept stage to design, engineering, and also use it for operation and maintenance. So it's a complete life cycle that we're talking about. So you see a skeleton, you see a lot of information being built in. We don't just talk about information modeling for building. We talk about for bridges, be it for plants, utilities. Any piece of infrastructure that we talk about has to be intelligent so that we can actually use that information that we have created while in the concept stage and use it effectively for operating that or maintaining that. And maybe the whole life cycle goes into retrofitting it or getting a new piece of infrastructure after you demolish that. So how do we do that? Now let's take a closer look at what the process is at a very detailed level, or let's say step level. So we talk about a federated project data approach. When I say federated project data approach, let me simplify it for everyone to understand. every stakeholder will be, every team would be a stakeholder. They'll be owning a piece of information, and what we as a technology provider would do is we would try and integrate the entire process, and every stakeholder's piece of information is important for the other. So because we are talking about a multidisciplinary approach towards a project. That allows, again, a simplified approach towards creating data and reusing it. That whole process of information management from a technology perspective allows us design coordination review. When I say design coordination review, I want you to focus on the right image on the right. It talks about a brownfield project where you can actually see how an existing piece of infrastructure would interact with your future design. So you are able to take a better judgment. On the other side, it is a process which we are trying to show where you see two disciplines talking to each other and how one discipline's work would affect the other, and how effectively the process would allow you to correct that particular fault or an error. And this reminds me of a situation which we call it as a 1-10-100 problem. So a problem which is at the design stage might cost you $1, and then at the erection or the execution stage might cost you thousands of dollars. So we're trying to create an environment where you are able to take informed decisions much better than, much earlier than before it becomes a catastrophe. We talk about constructability, so we talk about design information which can be used, which will be used of course as a construction model. So the information which is available in a design model, we want to convert that into a construction model and use the same information, not recreate it. Of course, this is at the heart. So I've been, I belong to a group. I started as a structural engineer, so I know how important analysis and simulating real-world situations in the virtual world is, and we'll see how we can actually cater to it, and with different softwares. Now, this is a way of actually incorporating all pieces of data that you have. For example, you're trying to build an industrial structure where you have different vendors supplying you different equipment. So you would want that particular equipment and that data to be present at the at a particular structural location, so you can actually have access to that data wherever you want. So that's I would say information being readily available for everyone to actually look at and reuse it. Documentation, of course, we've spoken volumes about it. It's very important. This is, again, as I said, Bentley as a product company, as a technology provider, is not just focused on products. We've also focused on giving you a collaborative environment, a data environment which allows you collaboration between different teams, not just teams, owner-operators, different vendors, different designers, execution companies, different construction companies, contractors. So we talk about this using a collaborative environment. Of course, there are so many technology providers, there are so many technologies which are present in the market. We cannot work in a silo. I can't just tell you, okay, so you have to use only Bentley's technology. So we talk about interoperability across different formats from different vendors. We talk about information sharing. Now, this information sharing is not across such teams. It's not across the design teams or engineering teams. This is across different stakeholders, and that includes different formats. It doesn't have to be an engineering format only. Of course, when I talk about information mobility, that's something which we as young engineers, we love to see, mobile apps. Information mobility means mobile apps. No, it is a part of it. Mobile apps are a part of it. So we, just to summarize it, we're looking at supporting delivery teams, not from just the individual consultants. We're talking about project delivery teams, different enterprise solutions. So we have a comprehensive modeling environment with MicroStation, and we're improving that with different connect versions of our softwares. We give you common data environment, which is again project-wise giving you a very, very unique feature. Very unique set of features. And we are slowly moving towards a connected performance environment. When I say connected performance environment, let me just try and give you an industry perspective on that. We are looking at simulating different situations on a cloud. That's how I will understand from coming from a structural background. It's of course much more than that. Now, I've worked as a structural engineer, so I understand that everyone in the room would be interested to know, okay, you've spoken about the technology, you've spoken about all that. What are the products that we're looking at? So the products that I'm looking at, for a particular piece of information. This is again design modeling. This is not the whole environment. This is about the products that your team would be using it, not the backbone of it. So the backbone again remains the common data environment that we talk about. It starts with something which will allow you to build a model, a virtual model, be it this hotel, be it anything. We saw one of the presentations about this hotel itself. So you can imagine that piece of information being built in Ecosystem Building Designer. We call it ABD in short. Then of course we move that information to the analytical and design tools. Of course, I guess everyone has heard of the name STAT, right? If somebody has not, then probably it's our fault. But it's been present for past 20-25 years in the market, and we know that. So that information is passed on to these products. And when I say information, there is no data loss. I'm not talking about recreating that data. There's no point doing that again. And then when the design information is processed and your design is done, you want to move into detail engineering, you move that information onto a product called ProStructures, which is again a 3D detailing fabrication tool. So all in all, I would love to, if I'm working on a project, I would love to see that one piece of information which I created in January 2016 still is existing in the project and people are reusing it and modifying it, and they don't have to recreate it over and over again. So that's the whole life cycle we as a technology provider look at. How is it possible? This is just a very simple slide talking about intelligent technology that we are effectively building, and it's evolving. It's called integrated structural modeling that allows your analytical tools interact with your documentation modeling tools, creating industry standards or industry neutral formats so that we can exchange data from other vendors as well. So that's at the heart of interoperability, which is again enabling your smarter environment to have the design information flow. These are some of the analytical products that we have at Bentley. It's available under a special commercial offering that's anyways not the concern right now. So you see STAT there and you see RAM products here. They cover all of it. Now, since we're talking about faster construction with steel, or smarter construction with steel and smarter construction technology, I wanted to touch upon something which is after the design. So when you talk about design, we've completed the design. Now, it needs to be executed. So we need a construction management tool. So we have an online construction management tool called EADOC. It's all about collaborative workflow. It's quite easy to understand, easy to start, easy to implement, and it's online, so everything is available at a click. So that's something which you might be interested in, and it just doesn't interest only one person. Your one set of your audience. If I have to actually generalize the entire discussion, whatever I've presented so far, we started from programming, conceptual design stage, went through to the construction fabrication stage with different products, and from there we started talking about using that information for different purposes. It could be operation maintenance, it could be using that information to take a decision whether you want to recreate that, we want to retrofit it, or we want to demolish and create a different piece of infrastructure. So in a nutshell, I wanted to actually get everyone's attention to whatever execution whatever projects we see right now being executed or already existing piece of infrastructure is because there is a technology supporting that. Without technology, I think we'll probably go back 100 years, right? So that's something which is important. And I guess as a part of the construction industry, as a part of design industry, we all need to acknowledge that there is a need for a common data environment. There is a need for a smarter workflow across the teams. And I'm not talking about just 3D environment. Just simple tools which allow you to create 3D models. I'm talking about information which can flow through. Now I'll take a moment to actually, put everyone's attention to what Bentley does, or as a company. Just give me a moment. hear it. Can you hear me volume? Sorry about that. Okay. Anyways, I won't take a lot of time for this. It doesn't have that effect when you don't have the volume and somebody talking about it. So, in 30 years we've understood that we have moved away from just sustaining infrastructure to advancing, and we understand our role as a technology provider has moved away from just the concept stage or design stage. And we're looking at reality modeling, we're looking at capturing information from different sources and using it for, much better intelligent infrastructure and taking better engineering calls. So, okay, not sure if it's worth. Let me just take a moment and talk about some of the solutions that we have. So we talk about Bentley's offerings in terms of this is a very interesting piece of information that is displayed on the screen. We call it Bentley City, and we are trying to highlight information about the product which talk to each other and form a solution for different areas when you talk about a city. So we talk about offshore plans, we talk about process plans, we talk about power generation, we talk about facilities management, buildings, campuses, everything. And we're trying to summarize what we have in terms of different solutions for different industries. So we are present everywhere. And in terms of what actually allows us to do is MicroStation at the heart of it. So that's again our modeling environment. Project-wise for your information flow, asset-wise for your operation maintenance information flow. I think just move away from. So there are some projects that I wanted to showcase which have used our technology. This is, I guess this was in news a couple of days back, right? It was made operational a couple of days back, and it was using our products, which are Pro Structures and MicroStation, wherein they build. I think this is a 500-meter aperture, largest radio telescope. So this was done in Bentley's environment, and we're proud to be associated to the project. This is a Westgate footbridge which was done in New Zealand. Again, using the uniqueness of it is a curved behavior. I mean the curved shape of the bridge, and it was again done very easily, or I would say effectively, using the collaborative environment as well as the MicroStation capabilities. This is an Indian project. It doesn't actually capture the essence of the project, but it was done by AKSHIT and using Pro Structures, and they were able to generate a lot of drawings very effectively. So when the previous presenter said something about 2,000 drawings, my question to everyone is: if you have this volume of drawings, how do you manage them? How do you manage them effectively? So that's something which should be of interest to you. As a technology provider, we have a solution for that, an effective solution, not just a solution. And this is again, Shopwood Projects did use Pro Steel and model corrosion at the soda ash plant. This is something which they did using MicroStation as as a background. All this information is available online. So if in case you're wondering what all information we're presenting and whether it's available online or not, it is, and it is a part of one of the good initiatives that Bentley has. Over the years, we invite our users to present their or submit one of the best projects that they've done, and we invite them for a 3-day conference somewhere in the world. And that's one of the very interesting forums that we have. Whatever material we create, we publish and we circulate that freely. So that's something which was of interest to me as an engineer, not as a Bentley colleague, because I get to know what are the projects that we do, and sometimes we are also amazed that as a technology provider, we were not able to find out, oh, you can use the software this way as well. So that's the power of industry, and that's how we come to know about all these projects. Thank you so much.